All right, welcome to this webinar, The 6 Elements of Advanced Influence and Leadership for Direct Sales Professionals. My name is Sean Smith. That's me down there in the bottom left. I am the founder of a company called MVP Success Systems. We are a coaching and personal development company. We've been operating in the direct sales world for many, many years. I am a speaker and a trainer and a teacher and a neurotransformational coach. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in the future. And first, what I want to say is welcome. I honor you. I honor you because you are the kind of person that wants more out of life. That's why you're in direct sales. That's why you signed an agreement and you've chosen to follow the entrepreneurial path, which is not an easy one, but it can create freedom. It can create more leverage financially. It can give you more joy. And it's not an easy road. So I honor you for choosing that. And I also honor you for showing up to this webinar because obviously it means that you want to maximize your skills and maximize your business however you can. And I hope that I can share with you some tools and tips and awarenesses and concepts that will do just that. So the expectations for this webinar is that for about 40 to 45 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you some of the proven coaching skills that you can implement in your business. I'm going to teach you what I do and what my company does and what my coaches do on a regular basis. And the majority of our clients are in the direct sales world. So the first thing is I'm going to try to convince you that coaching is the biggest missing ingredient in direct sales and why. And then I'll give you these 6 simple elements of advanced influence and leadership that you can implement right away. We'll talk about how to maximize your persuasion, recruiting, and leadership skills in 5 weeks or less. And we'll do a live coaching demo afterwards. For those of you that are interested, just kind of seeing it in motion, I'll do a demo, 1 or 2, depending on how much time we have, so that you can get a sense of what we're talking about. So first of all, I don't think I need to convince any of you that coaching works. I think coaching has become a lot more mainstream now. Most people understand that they cannot get the most out of themselves. That's why life and business coaching is a booming industry, because there's a need. Nobody can see their own blind spots. Nobody can optimize their own ability, especially because we are highly committed at a deeper unconscious level to actually protect ourselves. And so we're not going to be able to get the most out of ourselves while at the same time protecting ourselves. So most people in the direct sales world understand that coaching can be tremendously powerful. Here are a few testimonials from some of the people that we've coached in our company. Antonella said her income tripled immediately. Coty said she brought in $28,000 in production in a single month, 80 team members, got into a Cadillac. She's in Mary Kay. Gigi says her confidence has grown. She's increased her income, paid off credit cards, and has active team members, etc. So my intention is not to try to convince you that coaching works. I want to teach you how to do some of that coaching in your business. But before we get into this, actually, I want to give you a couple polls real quick. I want to find out, what's your confidence level on a scale of 1 to 5 in your ability to move through your own personal internal blocks. So 5 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. What's your personal confidence that I can move through my own stuff? I can get through my fears, my procrastination habits. I can get through my internal blocks. Everything that's stopping you, whether you're aware of it or not. I'll just give you about 5 more seconds or so to vote. And most of you are coming in at 2 or 3. That's kind of interesting. I did not anticipate it was going to be that low, actually. So most of you are coming in, 40% of you say 2, 33% of you say 3, 20% say 4, 7% say 1, and nobody said 5. Interesting. Now, maybe that's has something to do with what I was just saying, that almost nobody can get the most out of themselves. So the next poll I want to ask quickly is, what is your confidence level in your ability to coach other people on your team or other people that are taking a look at your business through their internal blocks? Do you feel like you can actually coach them through their real blocks? Or do you find yourself getting frustrated because you tell people what to do and they don't do it? So I'd love to know what your confidence level is from a leadership perspective, right? The first one is, can I get through my own stuff? The second one is, can I help other people get through their stuff? Now, some of you might think, well, if I can't get through my stuff, how am I going to help anybody get through their stuff? But some of you might have the opposite perspective, that you might not be able to get through your own blocks, but you can help other people get through theirs. But there is a difference between helping them see the blocks versus helping them get through them, or you seeing them versus you helping them get through them. Okay, I'm going to close the poll. Thank you for everyone that voted. Pretty similar, actually. 40% say 3, 33% say 4, 27% say 2. So nobody voted 1 or 5, which is interesting. I don't know that I have any more awareness around that other than interesting. So I want you to listen to the rest of this training through those filters. What can you apply to yourself, and what can you apply to helping other people? I'm going to give you a bunch of different tips on coaching team members and prospects and stuff. So let's get back to coaching versus training. Training is telling people what to do or telling people how to do it. Now, training is not bad. I'm not saying that you should stop training. Training is absolutely 100% necessary. You just need to know what training is and what training is not. Because most people get frustrated with their team after they've done training, but then their team doesn't implement. And so training is necessary. It gives the logical information, but it just doesn't remove any of the internal resistance. It's just logical by nature. Whereas coaching is guiding people through those internal blocks and helping them find their own answers, helping them find their own actions, helping them find their own strength inside. One of the tenets of coaching is that whoever has the problem has the solution. So coaching is really not about answering people's questions or giving people solutions. Real coaching is about holding the space for people and facilitating change so that they can find their own answers. And that's so much easier to do it that way and way more powerful. Yet what I find is that most people do it the other way. Most people try to assume what the answers are that people are looking for. And that's just spends a lot of your emotional energy on assessment and judging and predicting and hoping and expecting. And it just doesn't have to be that complicated if you really truly understand coaching principles. So the idea of coaching, the intention is to remove the internal resistance. Don't just tell people what to do, help them remove the resistance of why they're not doing it. And most people's struggles are because of inner conflicts. They're not logical conflicts. Nobody really has an information deficit. Nobody struggles in their direct sales business because they don't know information. They struggle because they don't have the emotional capacity or they don't have the body to implement the activities, right? That's always, I mean, that's 99% of all the fears. And so training doesn't have the ability to address that. We could talk about it, we could label it, but it doesn't have the ability to actually solve that because logical solutions will not work significantly long term. They won't really clear any of the internal stuff. So coaching is in my opinion, and I've talked to a bunch of people about this, I think the biggest missing piece in direct sales in your business is coaching. It's not training, it's not confidence, it's not any of the how-to stuff, it's not any of the logical stuff. It's really coaching. It's the ability to help move people through their resistance. Because as I said, everybody already knows, or they can easily learn what to do and how to do it. And intellectual knowledge is the problem, right? People are creating all these intellectual knots and they get frustrated, but they're not making the emotional shifts to actually clear away the fears. And the more intellect you collect without clearing your emotional fears, the more frustrated you're going to get. So what happens is a lot of people that join direct sales, their frustration continues to increase until they just quit. And one of the reasons people quit is because they know what to do and they can't figure out why they're not doing it. And after a certain amount of time, the human spirit is not going to just stay in the game and continue beating its head up against the wall unless there's some level of hope, unless they think something can possibly change. So we don't want to just widen the gap between your emotional intelligence and emotional capacities and your intellectual knowledge. Widening that gap will produce more frustration. The biggest problem in direct sales is activity resistance. It's not activity understanding. It's not activity knowledge. It's activity resistance. People know what to do. Make phone calls, talk to people, say stuff, move your mouth, make sounds. People know what to do. And it's none of it's rocket science, but people are resistant to doing the activities. So activity resistance is the biggest problem. It's going to be the biggest problem for you. It's going to be the biggest problem for your team members. So then what if we actually learn the skills? What if you learn the skills to address the biggest problem? What if you could help everyone who's willing to make a small change or a big change and actually make significant progress in their lives and businesses from a sustainable standpoint? So with your team members, if you teach people what to do and they're not doing it, and you don't have these coaching skills, where you have to send them somewhere, right? You got to either hope they get the help that they need, or maybe you'll refer them to a professional coach. If you've done coaching yourself, then you refer them to your coach or something. And then you're just going to hope that they'll come back to you after implementing or being able to implement what you're teaching after they go off and learn how to get rid of their challenges. But what if you could help them get rid of those challenges instead of sending them away and hoping they'll come back, hoping they'll get the help, and then hoping they'll come back? What if inside the conversation where you identified where the problem is, you could actually address the problem? So what if you had life coaching skills in your pocket, basically, and whenever you need them, you can pull them out on the spot without sending them away and hoping they'll come back? Or with prospects, people that are thinking about joining the business, thinking about buying your product, what if you could help them move through their own internal blocks, their own belief barriers and belief blocks, or their own identity blocks? Coaches are the best salespeople and the best recruiters if they use actual coaching skills. If you use sales tactics that don't feel good to you and create pressure for other people and create a debate where one of us is going to win, one of us is going to lose, that's always going to be abrasive. And most people don't enjoy doing it. But what if you had the coaching skills that could help people make fundamentally sound and congruent decisions, right? You want to help people make powerful, committed decisions that are aligned with their values and with their desires and with their beliefs. Either a yes or a no. Coaching is not going to take no's and turn them into yeses. I don't believe in that. I don't think you want to turn no's into yeses. I think it's complete crap when people try to learn or people teach how to take no's and turn them into yeses. Do you really want no's in your business? People that aren't fully aligned, people that aren't foaming at the mouth, people that don't want to be there? Do you want to learn the Jedi mind tricks to get them to want to be there temporarily, so that they become a disruption in your team, so that they might pull other people away, so that you have to manage their energy? Absolutely not. You just want to help people make a committed decision, a powerful decision. Yes, this is going to help me change my life, or no, this is not the right timing for me, or I just really don't want to do this. That's what coaching skills can help you do in a sales or recruiting environment. Not manipulate people into saying yes when they don't really want to say yes. because I don't think you want those people in your business anyway. But what I want you to really get, and this is why I think coaching is the biggest missing piece. If you don't have this ability to coach people through their activity resistance, which is the biggest problem, then your success suffers. Your tangible success, your income, your advancement in the company, and ultimately your freedom in your business are all restricted. You have a ceiling. They're all restricted, not just by your own internal blocks, but by other people's internal blocks too. If people are bumping up against their internal blocks and you can't help them move past that, then their ceilings are affecting your ceiling. And you can't do anything about it other than hope they go off and change that. But when you learn how to implement some of these coaching techniques and you're able to help people move through their ceilings, then you can take more control over your tangible success by helping people through their internal blocks. Everything becomes exponentially expandable, incrementally growable for you. So it's like you're taking your freedom back and you're increasing your ceiling by increasing other people's ceilings. And that's just gigantic, so that you're not really a victim of everybody else's fears and limiting beliefs. So one of my missions in the direct sales industry is to teach the implementable skill sets that are applicable in direct sales about how I deal with it. You know, what do we do as a company? What do our coaches do on a daily basis to deal with procrastination and perfectionism and time management and fear of failure and fear of rejection and fear of success and fear of speaking and all these emotional wounds and, you know, whatever challenges people are having. One of my missions is to give you some of the skills you can implement that'll help identify and address the real obstacles. Not the surface level obstacles, the real stuff. Now, my intention is not to turn you into a life coach, and you don't have to use any of the ones that you don't want to use. But what if you had the ability to address just about anything, and then you just got to choose which ones you really want to go after? And I'm not saying that any of you need to become anybody's counselor or psychologist or therapist or any of that sort of stuff. You have choice. And you don't have to engage with anybody that you don't want to engage in. You don't have to deal with any issues that you don't want to engage in. But what if you could? You know, when I teach my coaching certification, I use an analogy of snorkeling versus scuba diving. Snorkeling is when you don't really go below the surface of the water significantly, you know, just a little bit, but you still have the utensil or the, you know, the big snorkeling gear, and you can still breathe the air. And you can help people with their surface level issues. And it doesn't have to get very deep, doesn't have to get very emotional. Or you could scuba dive if you want. You can go deeper and take the oxygen down with you. And what I mean by that in a coaching context is you can help people identify and address some of the deeper work. And then you get to choose, right? But the whole point is you have the ability and you're able to apply these fundamentals of coaching to yourself and your own business. So that's what I want to offer the direct sales industry. And it's incredibly powerful when you can do that work. So before I go on, I'll just tell you a little bit about me, the fast version. I am a father, I'm a husband. Actually, as we are recording this, tomorrow is my 20th anniversary with my wife. So there we all are up in the corner there. When I was 13 years old, I was almost killed in a hit and run accident where I was riding my bike to school and my next door neighbor ran right through me, going about 50 miles an hour. And all the details of the accident said I should not have survived. But I made a promise to myself in that moment that I would not settle for a life of mediocrity, because life can end at any moment without warning. That's what I learned. And so since that moment, I started to study success and goal setting and gratitude and all the things that were incredible shifts for me, incredible gifts, especially as a young teenager. But even though I had made this promise for the next 20 years, I really struggled because I was bumping up against my own internal beliefs. Even though I was motivated, and even though I was a hard worker, I still really couldn't significantly progress until I got into the world of personal development and coaching in 2005, and it changed everything for me. And then in 2011, my father died of pancreatic cancer. And that was a very disruptive time period in my life and my family's life. And he gave me a gift in his final words. He told me, when I asked him what's kind of the secret of life or how can I live his legacy, he said, just be who you can be, do what you can do, and live a good life. And it allowed me to recenter myself and question, why am I here? And it really started to significantly color my coaching. And the best coaching is when we keep it simple. And direct sales is all about improving your lives in a simple way. So it sort of allowed me to reshift and recommit how I live, but how I teach my coaching, my curriculum, and so forth. And then the next year, my mom died. And that process was completely different for me because I had a lot of guilt and shame in our relationship. And as I've healed from that relationship and got my own coaching and so forth, I realized that one of the gifts my mom gave me is unconditional love and self-forgiveness. And again, it caused me to shift a little bit in coaching and my awareness about how so many people have forgiveness issues, and so many people have shame, and so many people have guilt. And most of them are lodged in their bodies, and most of them are actually with themselves, right? Most people's sabotage problems are not about the patterns themselves. They're not about perfectionism. There's no traits that lead to perfectionism or procrastination or any of that. It's all self-protection. And pretty much all sabotage is actually protection from self. Most of our sabotaging patterns are because we're trying to protect ourselves, not from the rejection, but from how we'll feel after the rejection. Not from failure, but how we'll feel after failure. Not from speaking in public, but how we'll feel after it. But the emotions are always created by what we say to ourselves. So the biggest breakthrough we can all have individually, and I see this all the time with direct sales, is stopping our pattern of self-abuse. So most of our sabotage is actually the fear of self-abuse. You're not afraid of rejection. You're afraid of the feeling after you abuse yourself after being rejected. After you say, see, this won't work, or I should have done something different, or you're never going to do this. You're never going to make it. You're never going to be successful. See, you're not good enough. You should have done this. You should have done that. So-and-so was right. That's the internal dialogue that we have that actually create the problems emotionally that we're afraid of. So we're all afraid of primarily self-abuse after the activities. And that's why the activity resistance is there. So it's not that we don't know we should make phone calls. We're afraid of what happens if we make the phone call, say whatever we say, and then they say whatever they're going to say, and then we feel bad. But we feel bad because of the self-abuse. So most of this kind of coaching is really helping you and then helping other people clean up their relationship with their self. And then phone calls aren't scary anymore. Trying to recruit people, talking about your business, talking in public, going up and talking to people that you don't know. None of that stuff is scary anymore once you handle some of the internal resistance. So, I've made this my life. I've been doing this since 2005. I won a pretty cool award a few years back. I've spoken all kinds of places: Colombia, Costa Rica, Greece. I was on a 2.5-week tour in India. And I don't say that to try to impress you, just that this is my thing. I'm a coaching geek. I love personal development. It's what I've been doing full time. It's the way I make an income. It's the way I provide for my family. And I've been doing it for 12 years. So I've been studying this at the deepest levels. And I want to share a lot of those studies with you in a direct sales context. So now I want to get into these 6 elements of advanced coaching: influence, persuasion, leadership, etc. And the elements are inside of this framework that I teach. I teach an Ignite framework, and each of the letters stands for something. And every coaching interaction has these 6 elements if it's going to be a positive interaction. Most people, though, most leaders, most trainers don't use all 6 of these elements. And that's one of the reasons that traditional leadership or a lot of the kinds of teaching that people are employing don't work, because they're not using these elements. So this is something that I came up with after all these years of coaching, and I think it'll be really helpful. So what I want you to do is just see which of these are missing for yourself in your leadership and just implement some of them. They're all really simple. I don't want to make it complicated for you. I want to give you something that's simple and implementable. And what you'll notice is that when you implement some of these things, I mean, it's amazing what you can do. So the I stands for identify. You want to identify with other people's model, and I'm going to go into each one of these a little bit more. You want to identify with other people's model of the world. G is get leverage and get permission. N is new outcomes. I is the inner work. That's my favorite part. T is for test and connect. And E is for empower to succeed. So this is the framework for transformational coaching. And that means really providing breakthroughs for people. Sometimes those breakthroughs are relatively small looking. Sometimes they're very deep and emotional. But this is what's required to get people to make fundamental changes so they can actually sustain success and move through their emotional activity resistance. So I'm going to go into each one of these a little bit more in depth. So identify means identify with their model of the world. You have to understand how they're seeing the world. What a lot of people do is they hear somebody's problems, I'm putting that in air quotes, and immediately they teach them the way they should be seeing the world. That's not good coaching. That's just invalidating what they gave to you and trying to immediately change their model of the world. So one of the things that a good coach does is he or she listens without fixing, especially in the beginning, or invalidating. If somebody says, I have a fear of talking to people, and you go, oh, well, fear is just nothing but false evidence appearing real anyway. So all you got to do is just think of something that's empowering, just like I do, and get over it. Yeah, that's not going to work, because the fear of talking to people could be a million different things. So you're not going to give them just one size fits all conceptual solution. But if you handle the conversation like that, then you're basically invalidating their fear, telling them that it's not real, or telling them to just get over it, or giving them your solution. And sometimes they'll believe you, but you haven't really done any coaching. Like, we haven't even gotten into the first step, right? So at this phase, we just want to listen. We want to try to understand how they're seeing the world. Sometimes when you ask people how they're viewing the world, the coaching gets done in their explanation of things, because whoever tied the knot is the only one that can untie the knot. And sometimes just by you asking them to explain is how they will untie the knot. So let's say somebody goes, I have a fear of talking to people. Instead of giving them a solution right away, you can say, that's interesting and fascinating. Tell me more about that. Or you can say, how do you have a fear of talking to people? Or how do you know you have a fear of talking to people? Or how do you know when you don't have a fear of talking to people? Just explore it and get them to try to explain it. Sometimes they'll explain themselves right out of it. Or sometimes they'll just explain it so that you know exactly what you're dealing with. You have to be clear at this step if you're going to help them. And this is such a big piece. Identifying with people's models of the world does not mean you agree with them. So if somebody has a fear of talking to people and you go, tell me more about that. And they say, well, every time I go up and talk to somebody, I think they're too professional, or I think they're too put together, or I don't I'm not put together enough to talk, and so I just don't think that it would be beneficial, and so I just shrink away. And that's what I'm struggling with on a daily basis, right? So let's say that they explain it. You can go, okay, got it. So when you are envisioning talking to people, then what are you actually thinking about? Like, what's going to happen? And then they'll probably say something like, well, what if they say no? Or what if they ask if I'm making $100,000 or whatever the fear is, right? So then you understand where they're coming from, but that doesn't mean you necessarily agree with them. Too many untrained coaches immediately try to jump in and manipulate somebody's model of the world, which just creates more resistance, actually. And one of the reasons they do that is because they don't want to agree with it. You're not agreeing with it, you're just trying to understand it. So at this phase, you want people to explain their models of the world to you so that you understand, you can identify with their model. Identify doesn't mean me too. It can sometimes, but most of the time, it does not mean, oh, I have that same issue. In fact, I don't think it's good for you to pretend that you have the same issue as them. Even if you have a similar issue, that doesn't mean that you're holding on to it like them. The G is get leverage and permission. This is probably the easiest step. It's at least the quickest step. And very rarely does anybody implement this unless they're a trained coach and they've learned this piece. The bottom line is people need to have a reason to change now. And so you can just ask them, why do you want to change now? That's what leverage is. People need to say, I want to change my life now. If they don't have a reason to change their lives, or they're not interested in changing their lives now, then your coaching is pointless because they have no leverage to implement anything. So we need to make sure as leaders and as coaches that we have somebody who really wants to change and they want to change now. And then the second piece of this is to simply ask for permission. If you don't have their permission, you run the risk of creating more resistance, either more resistance from their point of view to the activity, or more resistance between them and you. And you don't want to have resistance, especially from them to you, because then they won't allow you to coach them in the future. Now, it's really easy to do this. You just ask a question, just like the one that's on the screen. May I coach you through this? And if they say yes, now they've given you permission to do this work. And what this also does later on is it gives you leverage to remind them of the permission they gave you. So if the heat gets turned up a little bit and you feel resistance from them, or they don't call you back at a scheduled time when you're doing some mentoring or something, you can say, now you gave me permission to help you through this. Do you not want to move through this anymore? That is so powerful when you remind them of the choice that they made and the permission they gave you. 9.5 times out of 10, they'll go, yeah, you're right. You know what? This is actually what I want. And I want your support. I want your help. Most people know that they can't help themselves if they're self-aware on any level. And so when you ask if you have their permission, then they know that you are advocating for them. And when somebody gives you permission, they're also giving you free rein to say or do almost anything in their favor for their highest good. So you can be very confrontational with people if they know that you have their highest good at heart and they've given you permission to do it. But if you don't have permission, don't try to confront people because you'll probably lose rapport. And rapport is not when somebody likes you. Rapport is when somebody trusts you and they're responsive to you. The best way to allow rapport to show up at a deep level is to do these first two steps. Identify with their model of the world, get leverage, get permission, and then you'll have a lot more rapport. Now, the bottom line is most people will not change their lives unless and until they get provoked in some kind of way and they realize that the way they're living their life now is not the way they want to live their life, or the path that they're following right now is not going to give them what they ultimately want. But if you don't provoke them or they don't get provoked in some way, they probably won't make a change. The human spirit generally will not make a significant change unless and until it suffers enough. So as leaders, we have to be willing to ask questions that are going to be confrontational to people, not because you want to create conflict, but because you really want to help people change their lives. And sometimes those questions are going to produce some sort of resistance in people, and that's awesome. You can lovingly show people themselves in the mirror. And even if they don't like what they see, they know you've got them. They know that you're there with them and for them. And then it's incredible what you can help people move through. And most people are not willing to look at themselves in the mirror because they don't have any support. They don't want to do it alone because they don't know what to do when they see some of this stuff. So when you show up as a trusted advocate for them and you're going to hold their hand or go arm in arm with them metaphorically, then it's amazing what they'll allow you to do. The next letter in the framework is N, and this stands for new outcomes. This is simple stuff, again, something that a lot of people miss, but you have to get out of their mouths what they want. Sometimes that means, what would you like to accomplish in this phone call? Or what would you like to accomplish in this conversation? How can I help you the most right now? And sometimes people just say, well, I want to be able to pick up the phone without having my armpits sweat like crazy and without hyperventilating. Okay, awesome. That's one outcome. Or somebody else might say, I want you to help me make $10,000 before the end of the month. Okay, great. That's another outcome. Now, if somebody comes to you and says, I'm afraid of talking to people, and you decide that they want $10,000 at the end of the month, that's bad leadership. You're making an assumption that they have a certain goal, and that's not a safe assumption to make. Just because you have that goal, or you think they should have that goal, or other people have that goal, that doesn't mean they have that goal. And even if they do have that goal, you want them to say it. You want it to come out of their mouths so that it's confirmed. Anything that you put on them, they can resist, but anything that comes out of their mouth is the gospel. It's true. So you always want them to tell you very clearly what their new outcome is. What is it that you want to accomplish, either tangible or intangible? And those targets should be clear. Those targets should be measurable. And what that does is it gives you some guidance. If somebody says, I want to just be able to pick up the phone and talk to people without hyperventilating, now you know as the leader what it is that they are asking you to support them through. So then you're going to test the coaching against this target of picking up the phone. So the next time you talk to them, you go, hey, when you pick up the phone, are you hyperventilating? And they go, no. Awesome. Then we achieved this goal. What's the next one? And it also gives them the ability to recognize their progress. If they say, I want you to help me achieve this goal, and then you help them achieve that goal, then they're going to want you to help them achieve another goal. So it creates connection in that way, and it helps them realize that progress is being made. The I is the inner work. This is the thing that I love the most. This is where all the magic happens. This is a deep curriculum. So I'm not going to try to explain much of the inner work. I'll share with you a program in a little bit if you want to go deeper. But this is where you can reduce or completely remove the emotional resistance. This is where true breakthroughs occur, when you help people do this inner work, when you help them reduce or remove a fear that's lodged in their body, a fear that is a values conflict or a fear of success or something below the surface that's actually the problem. And this inner work is very simple. It's not difficult. The more difficult you make it, the worse it is, actually. So some people are afraid of doing real coaching because they think it's super hard. they're afraid of messing people up or what have you. But if you understand the actual coaching principles and you understand the desire that the human spirit has to untie its own knots and to be free, and you learn some of these simple skills, you start applying them, you'll be amazed at how quickly you can help people move from being stuck and struggling to breakthroughs. And then you have the ability to change people's lives. I mean, that's fantastic. That the ability to help somebody shift their life fundamentally. I mean, even if they don't ever make any more money in the company, just the ability to help people heal something, to help people move through some kind of deeper fear, and to be significant like that in somebody else's life, that's just incredible. It's part of my soul's fuel. And I know for many of you, it's part of your fuel as well. So as I said earlier, you can keep it on the surface and sort of snorkel a little bit, or you can go deep and do some of the deeper work if you want. It all just depends on the client. And in this case, I'm calling the team member the client. Even though they're not paying you to coach them, you're still leading them. And so they are the client in that regard. The T stands for test and connect. After you do whatever work, and some of this work is 2 minutes, and some of it is 10 minutes, and some of it might be a little bit longer. So there's a lot of flexibility inside that inner work. Once you help identify what the actual problem is and help them move through the actual problem, then you just need to test and see if the changes are working. So if somebody wants their armpits to stop sweating and stop hyperventilating when they pick up the phone, have them pick up the phone and make a call and see what's happening. Is their body producing those same results of hyperventilating and a bunch of sweat, or is it gone? And what you want to do is you want to test it immediately if you can, or if you can't, you just test it in the future. And maybe you tell them, all right, I want you to make some phone calls and call me right back, or text me or send me an email and let me know if your armpits were sweaty, right? So you want to give them the ability to realize that there has been a change made as well. So if you do some kind of inner shifting work with somebody, they make phone calls and they don't feel the resistance that they had before, that is so exciting to them. And they're usually going to want you to do a little bit more because they like the feeling of freedom, right? So helping people make those steps is incredible, and then helping them see that the steps were made is amazing. And then what you also want to do is connect them to something bigger than themselves. So that could look like them realizing that once they move through this fear of speaking or this fear of making phone calls, they're in a much better position now to actually create that college tuition, or to teach their daughters that, you know, that they can succeed and generate income or live free or achieve their goals or whatever the case is. People are more committed when there's something bigger than themselves at stake. So you want to help them connect to that. Sometimes that means connecting to a higher source, God, universe. Sometimes it means connecting to the earth, the ground, connecting to their purpose, connecting to their family, to their spouses. People are really craving for connection, and you want them to see that the work that you just help them do is producing more connection. That's going to get them in motion more. And then finally, the E stands for empower them to succeed. Sometimes that means give them resources, right? Tools, exercises, places to go on a website or something, so that you set them up to continue making progress. So you might help somebody set up a mastermind call. You might help somebody with sending them to an audio that they can listen to. Just let them know that there's ongoing support that they can access, right? You also want to give them a level of awareness and, when appropriate, the ability to do some kind of self-coaching. So you might say to somebody, you know, after you help them get around their fear of making phone calls, you might want to say, now sometimes these fears show up again. And if this fear ends up showing up again, or it shows up in a different way, you know, with a fear of speaking or a fear of recruiting or something, that's okay. I just want you to notice where it's showing up in your body. And I want you to think back to what we just talked about. I want you to think back to the beach, or I want you to imagine that family picture that you have in your mind, and just allow it to dissolve in your body. So you give them some self-coaching tips. You prepare them basically for the road ahead, and let them know that they can do a lot on their own. I mean, what you don't want in direct sales is to create dependency. You don't want people to be dependent on you in any way, in their business or in dealing with their own resistance. So the more independence you can create, the better it will be for you. And finally, show them how to get more support. Maybe you have a Facebook group, maybe there's an email they can send, maybe you have office hours where they can reach you. But what most people are missing is adequate support when they bump up against their resistance. And most people think they're the only ones that are really struggling the way they are the only ones with the details that they have, which is a shame, because almost all of us are dealing with the exact same stuff, yet most people think they're the only ones. And so they don't feel safe in reaching out to people and in talking to people about certain things. And so to have some kind of safe environment where they trust you, they trust other people, that's just massive. It's so incredibly important for people to know that they're supported. So these are the 6 elements of advanced coaching. And as I said before, you can take some of these concepts and immediately apply them in your conversations, asking for permission and leverage and identifying with their model of the world and testing and connecting and empowering to succeed. Asking for new outcomes. 5 of these 6 things you can immediately implement. You don't need any further training. But if you really are digging this stuff and you do want some of that training, then it's the inner work where you can learn more of your own coaching skills. And so what I want to share with you is a certification program that I have online that will teach you a lot of this inner work. That'll teach you a lot of these coaching skills. And then in a few minutes, I'll open up the line for somebody to do some live coaching, and we'll apply some of these things, maybe to 1 or 2 people. So I have this program online. It's called Breakthrough Coaching Certification. Sorry. And what it is an online at your own pace program. So there are over 20 hours of deep dive online instruction and practice so that you can increase your own skills. There are 10 different modules. The modules have handouts, and they have videos with slides, and they have exercises, and there's an online community where people are going through the different modules and helping pace people through and so forth. There's over a dozen specific coaching tools and exercises that you can implement, and some of them are literally like, just ask these 4 questions. Don't even change anything. Just ask these 4 questions in this order and change people's lives. And some of them really truly are that simple. And if any of you have been through this program, let me know if you agree and if you have any examples to share. So some of them are just follow the rules, follow the instructions. And then there are all kinds of concepts and strategies around coaching in general that'll really take your skills to a whole nother level. The support community is amazing on Facebook. People just really want to help other people succeed and win. And this program gives you 3 levels of mastery, which I think are critical in really truly getting it, really truly grasping these skills. So the first level is learning. That's where you'll hear me go through the modules and share the information. The second level is doing it. That's where you are practicing, you're getting the coaching, right? You're going through as a client with practice partners. And then the third level is experiencing the coaching as the coach. So when you do peer coaching, and the program highly encourages you to get a peer coach so you can go through the program together and pace each other and support each other, etc. And when you do the peer coaching, you get coached, with real life coaching and business coaching exercises. So you'll experience the coaching, but you'll also experience what it's like to be the coach. And that level of certainty and confidence is critical when it comes to you implementing in your business. And then for any of you that want, there's a certification at the end of the program. If you want to do it, there's an online assessment that you can take. You don't need the certification for any reason, unless you just want it. But that's not going to help you change people's lives having a piece of paper. It's the skill set that's going to help you change people's lives. But there is that option. A lot of people want a certification to just make them feel like they accomplished something. So I want to take you through a little bit of the curriculum here. We're going to dive into what I call neurotransformational coaching. What that means is helping people change their neurology so that somebody who has a fear literally doesn't have the fear anymore. They don't have to pretend the fear is not there. They don't have to motivate themselves through the fear. They don't have to continue to try to put a logical band-aid on an emotional problem. We can literally dissolve the fear so that it's gone. They don't have to protect against it anymore. It doesn't exist. That requires a change in their neurology, a change in their body. Because see, most of our fears are actually in our bodies. They're not in our minds. Our logical conflicts are in our minds, but most of our fears are actually in our bodies. That's where we feel the emotions. So when you feel rejection, it's in your body. So you can try to avoid feeling the rejection, or you can just clear the rejection in the body. And the difference between those two things is like night and day. So that's what neurotransformational coaching is. We'll go into the tenets of coaching, what makes a good coach, what you should not do. We'll talk a lot about the brain, because you have to understand how the brain operates, how it functions, how it learns, how the brain uses these meaning filters to assess everything, how to communicate with the unconscious mind. Our unconscious mind is the most powerful thing our brain has, yet most people are not engaging their unconscious mind. You got to understand how the brain holds on to these 6 layers of human emotion, how the brain uses language and how you can be specific in your language to access the unconscious mind. We'll go much deeper into the Ignite framework that I just talked about, sensory acuity, how you can notice what's going on in people's bodies and generate more rapport, how people, internal representational systems is how people learn, how people talk. If you're doing a weekly meeting, let's say, or training of any sort, you need to understand that people learn in different modalities. People are searching to consume information in 4 different ways. And you want to be able to give it to them in all 4 of those ways so that you don't miss anybody. And most teachers, trainers, and people in general don't understand that there are these different learning styles and different filters that people have. The importance of leverage and permission, we already went through that a little bit. We'll go a little bit deeper on that. 16 components of commitment is my personal content around what it actually takes to achieve at the unconscious level. The brain has these 16 components, and when these components are fulfilled, the brain can be committed at an unconscious level. When they're not fulfilled, the brain doesn't want any part of whatever it is you're trying to get it to do. So the 16 components is so powerful and valuable when it comes to achievement. We'll get into the environments that are affecting us 24 hours a day, how we can help people change their environments and change their reality, behavior patterns that we all have, and then general coaching strategies, just some of the basics, the components to your own success team and helping other people succeed, all kinds of transformational tools, exercises, paperwork, and all that kind of stuff. So it's really a life coaching certification program that you can implement into your direct sales business. And I recently had a woman who's a national sales director in Mary Kay, and she texted me or sent me a message and said, I tried all these things you taught me and they worked beautifully, almost magically. And she went through this program, and then she just started doing some of these simple things, and she was amazed at how they worked with her team. Now, this is somebody who's achieved the highest level of the company, and she got a lot of value with some of this, these leadership techniques, and she just applied them in a simple way and just realized how much of a difference that it makes, right? So I've had several people, a bunch of people make very kind comments about the material, and Greg said, this is changing my life and relationships. Those are the things that make me tear up a little bit when people are talking about changing their relationships and their parenting relationships and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of value. Fran said she got more than her $40,000 degree in psychology, which is very kind. Wendy said, what I learned last night immediately changed the dynamics in my home. Some of these simple strategies, I mean, we're talking about immediate shifts, immediate healing in relationships, immediate shifts with children. I mean, it's any kind of human behavior that's causing a problem can be shifted, but only if you really understand these issues. And as I said, everybody's issues in direct sales are these internal conflicts. They're not, I don't know what to say when I talk to people. It's, I don't have permission to call people up and tell them what I know how to say. So anyway, the program is super valuable. If you want to take a look at it, you can go to that link down there, elitecoachinguniversity.com/BCC, which stands for Breakthrough Coaching Certification. When we first brought the program out, we were selling it for $497. A bunch of people paid that. We have it online right now for $347, so you can save a significant amount. There is a payment plan if you want. It's a little bit higher, obviously, because you're stretching out the payments. But as a participant in this webinar, there's a discount, even a deeper discount. So an extra $150 off the $347, not off the $497, which takes you to $347. It's an additional $150. So it's basically $300 off the original price. And so when you type that in, the DS 150, DS for direct sales 150, you type that into the shopping cart. There's a little place that says coupon. Type that in, hit apply, and an additional $150 will come off. And so it's only $197. So less than $200 will give you this coaching certification program. And I got to tell you, yeah, it's a pretty good deal. I mean, these are the techniques that have changed my life in so many different ways. This is a legitimate deep dive certification program for a couple $100. And on top of that, in order to make it even more of a no-brainer, if those of you who are listening to this really want to jump in, we have a standing 60-day guarantee, but it's not get your money back, it's double your money back. So if you pay $197 and you go through the program and you prove to us that you went through the program and you did the exercises and you think it's not valuable, I will pay you twice what you paid us. So I'll give you $394 back. So there's really no risk whatsoever. If you think it's not worth it, then we'll give you twice your money back for your troubles. Now, we've never had anybody exercise that guarantee because the program is legit. The program is super valuable, and I stand behind it. We really believe in the value of it. So, I don't know where else you're going to find a double your money back guarantee, but I'm wanting to make it a no-brainer, and and just by standing behind the product. I don't want to try to create a bunch of scarcity and you got to get in now, and I'm going to throw in coat hangers and $5,000 with other stuff. That doesn't feel good to me. And I want you to get in because you really want this information. I'm not going to try to, manipulate your scarcity and urgency mindset to try to get in the program now, or you're going to miss out. You either see the value in adding this to your life and to your business, or you don't. And if you see the value, then awesome, jump in. And I want to make it worth your while. So thank you for listening, for attending this webinar all the way through. I hope there's been something valuable that you can apply in your life or in your business. And what I want to do now is open it up for just a little bit of open coaching. We probably will just do this with one person just to show you, some of the simplicity around this and what can happen. So what I'd love is for somebody who's on the webinar right now who feels stuck, maybe is bumping up against some of the fears that I've been talking about, the fear of making phone calls, the fear of talking to people. And I want to do a purpose exercise with you. So we talk a lot about purpose, identifying your why in direct sales. And what I've learned is that most people really don't know what their why is or what their purpose is. And if they do, they're usually wrong. And that might seem weird to say, but if you think you know what your purpose is and you're wrong, that's not a good recipe. That's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for more resistance. That's not a good thing. And so I just want to show you a very simple process that can help people really get clear on what their purpose is. So if you identify with any of those things, what I want you to do is type in the chat box in like one sentence what your challenge is. So it could be, I haven't figured out a way to manage my time, or I'm afraid of making phone calls, or I'm afraid of speaking in public, or I'm afraid of recruiting, or whatever it is. I'm afraid of being judged by my parents or by my friends. So I want you to just give me one sentence here that explains what the issue is, and then I'll support you with a little simple exercise that will help you get more leverage, help you get more clarity around your purpose. Because if people don't have clarity around their purpose, there's no reason to do the business, right? Your business is so that you can achieve something. The business is not the game. The business is designed to help you win the game. The game is life. The game is freedom. The game is more money, more liberation. That's the game. Your business is something that can lead to that, right? It's something that supports you becoming more fulfilled in life or in your business. So I'm not going to call on anybody just out of the blue, because this has to be your choice. So I'd love for somebody to come on in. I've got somebody that raised their hand. Let me see who raised their hand. Kayla, if I'm saying that correctly. Let's see. Let me see if I can unmute you. So Kayla, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I'm going to unmute you and see if you're muted still on your end. So I don't know if you're on your phone or you're on a computer where the mic isn't working or something. Oh, there you go.
Hello.
Hello, I hear you.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Excellent. So did you want to share what's going on in your
Yes.
business and your resistance? Okay. What's going on?
So I guess for
And I
me, the
just want you
people
to give
that,
me like just the quick version, then we'll see if we're
of
gonna
course, of
use
course,
you.
for me, I guess it's people feeling like they're feeling harassed when I'm just reaching out, trying to make connections, trying to do the whole, how can I help you? So what's a better way, I guess, to approach when trying to do this?
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that. I have somebody else who says, afraid if I get there, I won't be able to keep it. The goal seems insurmountable. Okay, thank you for sharing that. By the way, this is going back to you, Kayla. Kayla, sorry if I
It's
missed. How do
okay.
I pronounce your name?
Kiala.
Kiala. That's
And I raised my
cool.
hand because I couldn't find the box to type anything in, so I had to raise my
Oh
hand.
yeah,
Sorry.
no worries. Well, thank you for raising your hand,
Yeah.
Kiila. That's so cool.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna go ahead and mute you again just to manage the sound here. All right, so what I want to do, just for the purposes of this demo, this one particular exercise I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pick Donna, who shared. I'm afraid if I get there, I won't be able to keep it, and the goal seems insurmountable. So Donna, hopefully you are in a place where you can talk. I'm gonna unmute you. I see you're muted on your end, Donna. So there you go. How are you? I'm not hearing you, Donna. Are you trying to speak? Okay, I see the hand raised. I see a question. I'm not seeing your ability to talk. So we're just gonna try one more time. Donna, yeah, I see that you're connected to audio. All right. I'm gonna give you just a few more seconds because I see that you're coming in on another line, so hopefully you can get your audio showing up there. All right, let me try to unmute you there. Okay, wait, here we go. Try this. Okay, I unmuted you, Donna, on the new line. Go ahead and see if we can hear you.
Can you hear
I
me now?
hear, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
Awesome. And I just want to make sure everybody else can hear. If you can hear Donna, can you raise your hand? Perfect. Okay, so other people can hear too. Okay, Donna, so tell me a little bit more. You're afraid if you get there, you won't be able to keep it. The goal seems insurmountable.
Well, I've been in Mary Kay for over 30 years
Okay.
and have reached quite a few goals. However, I've backtracked and lost not earning what I should and backtracked quite a bit. And it just seems so huge to be able to get back there again. Yet something in me just does not want to give up.
Okay. What would you say your purpose is in your business?
I love seeing the change in my people. I want to help women achieve their goals, and I
Okay.
want success for my family.
Got it. So are you willing to do a little coaching process?
Sure.
And let me help you clarify this and maybe deepen your connection a little bit.
Okay.
Perfect. So all I'm going to do is just ask you questions about what you said, and your job is to answer the questions. Pretty simple game, right?
Right.
So you said you want to teach people, I forget the words that you said, but basically you want to, help other women. You want to be successful for your family. Actually, let me go a step back. I'm just going to ask, why did you join in the first place? And it might be tough for you to remember. This is 30 years ago, but
Yeah, 34.
34. Why did you join in the first place, you think?
To for the self-confidence, for myself. I did not want to go back to work in corporate America, and I decided to give it a try. And when I realized how easy it was and how wonderful it felt, I was committed and said I'd be committed for life. Um, it was so much fun. I mean, I achieved so much, and it felt good.
Perfect. Okay. So right now, at the stage that you're in right now, why is succeeding in your business important to you?
I believe for a legacy. I want to show my children and my husband that I can do it and reach that success.
Okay.
A lot of times I feel I've let them down.
Okay. You
And
said one is legacy. Is there
yeah,
another one?
another is for myself,
Okay.
to know that I came this far and worked this hard and that I did it. Probably the self-satisfaction, and to have that achievement.
Perfect. So why is it important for you to have that achievement, the self-satisfaction? Why is that important to you?
To know that I helped others and to feel good
Why is it
about,
important for you to know that you helped others?
because I feel like helping others is what we are called to do.
Okay. Why is it important for you to fulfill that, what we're called to do?
I feel that that's my life purpose. I mean, I feel like that's my calling in life. I guess I want others to respect me and see that I am a giver and not a taker.
Why is it important for people to see that you're a giver, not a taker?
To feel that I made a difference in this world.
Got it. And why is that important for you to feel like you made a difference in this world?
Probably because I grew up not feeling like I mattered.
Got it. Was that laughter or were those tears?
Tears.
Thank you. So tell me, why is it important for you to feel like you matter?
Well, I believe that I treat everyone the way I want to be treated. And I do
Hmm.
feel like a lot of times I'm not treated the way I want to be treated. And I feel
Okay.
like if I can treat everyone that way, then I will have succeeded.
And how would you explain treating people the way you want to be treated? How do you want to treat people?
With kindness and respect and compassion, understanding, and with love.
Got it. So if you treat people with kindness, respect, compassion, and love, that means you matter, and that means that you are making a difference in the world. Is that true?
Yes.
And how would
That's
that make you feel?
is in my mind, it would make me feel really good.
Awesome. Where can you feel that in your body?
In my heart, in my chest.
Hmm. So just breathe that in, Donna. And you might notice the other tensions in your body or the conflict in your mind or something start to dissipate. That's just really simple, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like just treat people with kindness, respect, compassion, love, how you want to be treated. So we got into this discussion because you were struggling with some fear around, like, what if I don't keep it, right? What if I don't sustain the success, and just what if this happens?
Right.
How do you feel about that right now in this moment?
I feel like I want to go do that now. I feel like when I say all that, the kindness and compassion, I feel kind of like, okay, then let's go do it.
Awesome. So you don't feel the resistance?
Not as much.
Awesome. So as you think of making phone calls, as you think of talking to people that you do know or that you don't know, as you think of doing all the things in your business, I want you from this point forward to always think of this business as a platform for you to give people the experience of love and compassion and kindness and respect, because there are a lot of people on this planet that relate to that same pain that created a little bit of tears just when you said that you don't matter, right? You agree with that?
Oh, yes.
There are a lot of people on this planet. So what if that's your role? What if that's your mission? What if instead of achieving whatever unit club or income goals you have, what if your mission is just to put more smiles on people's faces and make people feel like they matter?
Then the rest would probably come and not.
Exactly. Exactly.
Hmm.
So from this point forward, I want you to always think, and you'll be able to go back and listen to this recording if you want. You can
Hmm.
write it down, obviously. You know, these words are very special to you because they came out of your mouth. And the next time you feel any resistance or you feel the sabotage, all you got to do is remind yourself of this. Because this is what your heart wants. That's why it showed up in your heart. And your energy totally shifted. When you listen back again, you'll hear that in the very beginning, anytime you were talking about anything tangible, success, and so forth, even though you didn't talk much about it, you can almost kind of tell when people are talking logically versus when people are talking emotionally. And you got to talking emotionally pretty quick. And it was based on your pain
Hmm.
of not feeling like you matter. When we use our pain to fuel our purpose, the resistance almost entirely goes away. But when we use our ego's fears to try to motivate ourselves to make phone calls, to recruit people, all of our fears are gonna show up. They're gonna stay there because we're trying to motivate ourselves with the mechanism, which is our ego and logic, that's afraid. Would you agree, Donna, that in this space, coming from your heart, wanting people to feel like they matter, wanting to share love, wanting to show kindness to people, would you agree that you can do that regardless of whether they accept it or not, and you're still doing your work? Like there's not going to be fear of rejection or fear of them not approving of you because you're genuinely coming from a place of service, right?
Absolutely. Hmm.
So the more that you come from a place of service, the easier all of these issues go away. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that from now on, all you talk about is caring and kindness and loving and all that. I mean, there's still a conversation to be had around Mary Kay for the people that are prospects for your business.
Right.
But when that conversation comes from love and comes from kindness and comes from respect and comes from compassion, it's going to land differently. It's going to come out of your mouth differently because it's coming from a different source, and it's going to land on them differently because it's reaching a different source.
Hmm.
And then everything is easier. You become more attractive, you become safer, you become more fun. Everything is easier. So my invitation for you, Donna, is to use this energy that you're feeling right now, come from that place of your heart, and make your business be an extension of that, and you'll see how the resistance melts away. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you volunteering for this little exercise.
Thank you.
And I would love to hear how it goes. So if you wouldn't mind, can you email me in a week or so and let me
Sure.
know how it's been going? Let me know the increase in activities or results or joy or anything at all that you're experiencing coming from this heart-centered place.
Okay. Absolutely.
Deal?
Deal.
Perfect. That's your charge for this coaching session. Is you
Okay.
have to email me back and tell me what happens.
Thank you so much. I have only heard you once speaking in person, and I also ordered your emotional mastery tapes, the 12 CD set, and Releasing the
Uh-huh.
Brakes. So it has definitely been helping to get through some of this. But this is great.
Awesome.
I'm excited about this. Thank you so much.
Good. It's coming from a real place, you know. It's coming from your heart. It's coming from your soul.
Hmm.
So much of our human journey is a conflict between ego and soul. Our egos really restrict our joy and our happiness, and our souls don't really get to play. You know, our souls don't get to commit to what we really truly want because our ego yells so loud. We're so focused on tangible achievements and the fears. And, you know, I think it's one of the great tragedies for a lot of people in their human existence that the soul gets squashed by the hollow yelling of the ego.
Hmm.
And so the more that you can tap into this, Donna, it'll clear that up.
Okay. Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate you going through that demo. I'm going to mute your line here. And if any of you have anything to say or ask, you can go ahead and type whatever it is that you want in. I'll just debrief that a little bit. You know, as a leader, you can ask people at any point in time, why are they doing the business? And then you just simply turn into a little 3-year-old and go, well, why is that important? And why is that important? And why is that important? With Donna, I think her fourth answer, she started crying. She's been in this business for 34 years. And I bet we could ask her why she's doing the business. And if she's like most people that are in direct sales, she'll tell you why she's doing the business, but there's no emotion behind it. It's just a logical thing. Even if it's something that really truly is important, you know, she was talking about doing this for her family and stuff like that, but it didn't have the emotional charge. And if it doesn't have an emotional charge, then people don't have the leverage to push through the challenges that they have. So a simple exercise like this is a way to get people to clarify their reason for doing the business. If there's no reason for doing the business, then they're going to quit. And then it also gives you as a leader leverage to remind people. So let's say Donna's on my team and I have taken notes on this conversation, and I know that Donna has told me that she's in the business so that she can help make a difference in the world and help make people feel like they matter by spreading kindness, respect, compassion, and love. So let's say 3 months down the line, Donna's not texting me if we have some kind of mentor relationship, or she's not going to the meetings anymore, or I just see that she's pulling away. Instead of me calling Donna and trying to get her to come back to the meeting, which is tough. She's already decided that she doesn't want to come to the meetings because she's not coming. Instead of me calling Donna and go, hey, Donna, you really got to come to the meetings. You got to show up to go up, and you really got to be there. And sometimes you need the meeting, and sometimes the meeting needs you. And you can like give your best sales presentation of why she needs the meeting. That's not where her leverage is. But what if I called Donna and I said, hey, I really want to ask you a question. And I know when you first got in this business, you gave me permission to be your guide and be your mentor. And I just want to check in and see if I still have that permission. And let's say she says yes. And I go, awesome. So a few months ago, Donna, you said that you're really in this business to show people that they matter and to be able to have a platform for kindness and love and compassion. Is that still true? How much more powerful will that be than me calling Donna up and trying to strong arm her back into the meetings or trying to tell her that she needs to sell products? No, I'm just asking her about the leverage that she has in her heart. And if that really still is true, that doesn't mean she's going to come back into the meetings necessarily, but at least we can get to the heart of the matter. And then a follow-up question could be, so just tell me what's up, what's going on, what's really going on. And now you can speak from your heart to her heart about the thing that really matters, instead of keeping it focused on the surface stuff, the activities. If people don't have leverage to do the activities, they're going to stop doing the activities as soon as the activities get harder than their emotional leverage. As soon as the resistance to do the activities outweighs the reason for the activities, they're going to stop doing the activities. So would you rather just get into a debate and an argument trying to get them to do the activities, which has already surpassed their reason, or do you want to reignite their reason for doing the activities? And as they are reminded of the reason that's much bigger than themselves, this is a service calling for Donna. This isn't an ego calling. This isn't about making money. This is a service calling. This is about spreading joy on the planet. This is about her mission. This is the reason she's here. Those are all the words that she was saying. Much, much bigger than her. It has the power to outweigh the resistance, but only if we shine the light on the reason, not just the activity. So it's a very, very simple process. You don't have to have any skills as a coach, really. You just have to ask questions, have some curiosity, trust that the human spirit desperately wants to achieve certain things while here on this planet, and let's just dive into them. Almost all the time, people are going to get emotional. I just did this exercise about 4 months ago with people that had been in a business, and most of them had been in the business 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. One lady, I believe, was in the business 25 years. And I taught them this exercise, then I had them do the exercise with each other and just, why are you in your company and why is that important? 45 seconds in, one of the people who had been in the company 25 years just started bawling. And she never realized that that's actually the reason why she's here. She thought the reason was something else, and it was a logical thing. It was an ego thing. She didn't realize that she has this deep soul drive to experience and to share this other thing, and it just got her. It was like 45 seconds. The human heart is accessible if you talk to it, but you're never going to access the human heart when you keep talking to the head. Somebody asked a great question. What if they stopped coming to the meeting because of a death in the family or something equally serious? Awesome. Then don't try to strong arm them back in the meeting. Or allow them to see that maybe the meeting has a different reason now. Maybe the meeting has a different purpose. Maybe the meeting is about support and it's about just getting out of whatever the quicksand of emotion is that they're in. Anytime you're dealing with people who have a very tender circumstance like that, you've got to be compassionate. Now, if they don't feel safe enough with you to share, then they won't even tell you. And if you tell them they need to come to the meeting because that's where people succeed and you need to increase your skill set, and they're dealing with the death in the family, they don't want to hear that. And that's definitely not going to get them to come to the meeting. So when you allow these heart-to-heart connections and conversations, you'll actually get the real reasons that people want to succeed in the business and why they're not showing up. And what I would do in that situation, I'd let them talk, understand their model of the world. If you have some things to ask or say, you can do it, but just basically let them know you're here for them, however that looks. And then if they say that they don't want to go up to go to the meeting right now because they're dealing with this death in the family, allow them to be right. Because if you say, no, you got to come to the meeting, then you're invalidating them. Now, if you truly believe that the meeting can support them, then you can ask those questions. And you can just say, let me ask a question. Do you think that maybe it would actually be beneficial to go to the meeting? Now, if she still says no, then she's right. You actually run the risk of creating a wedge between you and her going forward if you stay in that argument. But you'd be surprised how many times people will see, you know what, I actually do need the support. And they trust that you're advocating for them. And it's not just about what they're doing for you. It's magical. And when people know that their leader is there for them, not just for the scoreboard, it's amazing how much more they show up. It's amazing how much more committed they are to themselves, not to you. You don't want people to be committed to you. You don't want people to do their business because you have a goal. You don't want people to do their business because they don't want to disappoint you. You don't want to be in this. You do not want to be their leverage because that's not very strong. But Donna's leverage about making a difference on this planet, that's deep. That's powerful. So that's how you ignite somebody from within. All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and end this webinar. Again, I hope this has been valuable for you. If you have anything to say or ask, you can email me with your questions or your comments. I would love to hear what your experience is as you implement either this last piece of just why is that important to you? I call it the purpose exercise. Just why is that important to you? Why is that important to you? Why is that important to you? And just explore the issues. People will usually get to some big universal drive, like I was made for this. This is my purpose. This is why God put me on this planet. I'm here to spread joy. This big reason, much bigger than making money and paying bills and getting recognition. All that stuff is okay, but when it's being driven by this deeper work, then it's powerful. So I'd love to hear how any of this affects you, whatever results you get by implementing some of this. And I'd love to see some of you in the program. If you're going to jump in the program BCC, we got lots more that we can teach you about doing some of these very, very simple techniques to help people move through their resistance. So with Donna, We just helped her move through the resistance, not give her an intellectual band-aid, but move through the resistance by tapping into a resource that she has with her all the time, which is her heart. So with that, everyone, I hope you got something valuable. I wish you nothing but amazingness and love and joy for the rest of your day and week until we speak again. So take care, everyone. Good night. God bless. Talk to you soon.